after doing our video on the smear campaign, somebody sent me a message to ask, does it ever end? Meaning, does the abuse ever end? If you've not watched that video about smear campaign, things that abusers do to continue the abuse even after the relationship ends. And I'm going to put a link below this video so that you can have a chance to watch. If you're new here, my name is Joanna Daniel. I'm here with Michelle Peart, and we work at Wounds to Scars. We support adult survivors of childhood trauma and women who experience abuse. Today, we're answering that question. Does it ever end? Does the abuse ever end? And I suppose the short answer, Michelle, isn't it, is yes, it does.
It's an absolute yes.
Yes, it does.
It's an because I'm an example. I'm a prime example of that. It's an absolute yes.
Yeah. We're going to talk about some of the things that you will need to do if you're in this early stage, or if you're supporting somebody in the early phase, they've just disclosed, they're just leaving. And also depending on the type of abuse, an abuser. And we're going to talk about that in our video and next one. So, subscribe to the channel and look out for that. Depending on the type of abuser, there might be different things you'll need to do as the relationship is ending, because your safety is really important to us. Your safety is important to us. So let's talk about some of the things, Michelle, that people can look out for when the relationship is ending. And, victims who can draw a line under this destructive and harmful relationship. What are some of the things that we can look out for as we're nearing the end?
Yeah, absolutely. So you may notice that the perpetrator, whoever that is in your life, will start to escalate the situation. He or she may become very irrational, start to maybe put trackers on your phone, start stalking you, finding out where you work, speaking to your family members, as if the perpetrator is preparing your backlash. He knows that he or she knows that they're losing control.
They know,
because they know, yes, in terms of violence.
Family members who are abusive too.
Yeah. They know that they're losing control of you. They know that what the abuse that they used to use in the past may not be effective, because you're rising up to it, you're challenging it. And so those would be the things to look out for. Look out for if there's any trackers on your phone, if they start to stalk you, if they're talking to family members a bit more often, if they've become secretive. These are all elements to suggest that they're planning to either harm you or to follow you somewhere else. I just want to have a quick look at, I've got what we call the power and control wheel. And this wheel is specifically so the power control wheel has many elements to it, but I'm going to look at the Christian, how it looks like in a Christian environment. So there's 8 elements to the power control wheel. And some of the elements I'm going to talk about is using coercion and threats. So in the church, because you're deciding to leave, you'll most probably start to establish a network of support. And so the perpetrator may start to threaten or to damage your reputation in the eyes of the church. And for example, they may say to you, I'm going to tell the pastor about you, threatening to divorce you or forbidding you to talk to anyone in church leadership. That was my experience. I recall in my personal experience, the perpetrator was in a senior position in the church. So I thought I could go to the elders. I wasn't aware that the perpetrator had already gone to the elders and spoken about me. So we need to be really careful who we talk to. Make sure that they're safe people that they'll believe you and validate your truth. And
I'm sorry, Michelle, I'm glad you said that, because what we're finding, and this, like, women have had to, or victims mostly, and because the victims that we work with in terms of domestic abusive relationships are mostly women, that they often have to leave their church because the perpetrator gets to the leaders first, because they've been scheming and planning behind you, and while you were trying to save a relationship, they were scheming to end it. I think sometimes they go into relationships with the end in mind, like, this is what I'm going to do at the end. That's why they'll take screenshots. That's why they'll record your conversations, and be amazed that they have a record of a conversation and an argument that you had 10 years
Oh my
ago.
goodness. Yes, absolutely. They
It's
will
a couple
record,
of
they
days.
will keep, yeah, they're always building evidence. They always want to be one step ahead because we're
Yes.
not talking about someone who doesn't know what they're doing. This is perpetual systemic type of abuse, and they
Well,
know exactly what they're doing. And what we tend to do as victims is, we tend to be fearful because we still want to hold on to the relationship, which is
mm,
understandable, especially if
mhm.
there's children involved. And
Yeah.
two, we still love our partner and we can't believe that they would do this. But please be assured that they have an end game, and that
They
end
do.
game is to tear you apart.
Totally.
That's the reality of it.
Totally.
It's to undermine you, it is to humiliate you, it is to intimidate you, because that's what happens when they're losing control. So
Yeah.
their end game, they've already recorded all your information, the information that I had from months ago, as you quite rightly said, it was all documented and it was all used against me. And there wasn't much I can do at the time, except for to rely on my own personal support network to protect me. So
Yeah.
just be mindful that whatever he's documenting, you can document also.
I was going to say, you make sure you keep a
Yeah,
documentation as well. And
you
this is
keep
not
it.
a tit for
Yes,
tat. This is literally just for
it,
your
no,
safety.
it, you're fighting for your life here.
Yeah.
So you need to build as much evidence as possible also.
Yeah.
Um,
So keep screenshots of emails, save voice notes,
yes,
those kinds of things,
yeah,
because they'll probably send it and then delete it or have disappearing messages on their phones.
yeah,
So you want to be able to quickly, take screenshots and stuff like that. I think sometimes Christian women, Michelle, and you might be able to speak to this in terms of support system. um, women, especially as victims, find it really difficult in churches because they usually go, because the perpetrator is always nice, charismatic, maybe a leader. They
mm,
teach the Bible. People struggle to believe, and and this is why we're doing the Safe Relationship Guide training from the 22nd of September to the 13th of October. And the link for the training will be below this video. It's also on our website at woundstoscars.com. And for people to understand the dynamics of abuse, understand what it looks like, because
yeah, for
it breaks
sure.
my heart when somebody said to a victim, I don't know who to believe. And I thought, there's no way you cannot know who to believe when it's abuse, because
Yeah.
the signs are really clear. So we're going to really drill down in that and teach leaders about the signs of abuse so that you're not struggling with who to believe. And that's really
Yeah.
hurt for a victim. I don't know who to believe.
Yeah, I mean, in an abusive relationship, sometimes victims become isolated. That's one of the patterns of
Absolutely.
behaviors that the
Yeah.
perpetrator will do. They will very regret, and it's not it doesn't work quickly.
Mm,
It's steady, it's stealthily, as
of
anyone tend to
course.
use it. So what we need to do is build what we call a support map, and that is building up the relationships with people outside of the of your marriage or of the relationship that you had. So that means, if you didn't get it, if you still have your phone book, if you still have access to your phone and you still have those contact numbers, start calling your sister, your brother, your mother, your friends, people in the church that you trust. Build your own support network, people that can validate your truth and know that you can turn to, for
But
support.
Michelle, those relationships may need to be repaired, because isn't one of the things
Mm,
that abusers do is to try to break those relationships, isolate you from them by telling you things about them that oftentimes is not true, like your mother said, or your sister don't like you, or this friend is not good for you. And so you might, sometimes women, in order to save the marriage, might cut off people. So there might be some work of repair. So nurture those relationships and rebuild them if they're broken.
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right, John. If there's an opportunity to restore the relationships, just reach out, write letters, however you can do so. I
Mm.
know in my circumstances, I was sent to another country, so I didn't have much of a support network. But there were one or two people that reached out to me still, and I was able to keep in contact. But it is important to be able to build that network of support. And if if the relationship has been torn down, and ask God to to help you to find someone that you can trust.
Yeah,
Even if it's a stranger, even if it's somebody outside of the parameters, even if it's going to professionals outside. In this country, you may need to go to speak to someone in a women's refuge to get advice. You may need to seek
absolutely.
legal advice. There's nothing wrong with that. God's people are everywhere. And
Everywhere.
so I know that we're fearful of going outside, but as I often say, this is your life you're fighting for. And if God died for you, then you're worth fighting for. If
Absolutely.
he stretched his nails out on the cross to die for you, you have value and you have worth. You were made in his image. You are wonderfully and creative, and you were made in his image. So your life matters. So when you're thinking about leaving, it's important to establish, you know, what is going on in my life? How is this relationship affecting me?
Mm,
How is it affecting me emotionally, physically, psychologically? Is he tracking me at work? All these elements, things you don't have time to think about. But once again, as Ecclesiastes chapter 3, there's a time to love. There's a time not to love. There's a time for war. There's a time for peace. What is happening in your time frame? This is the time to evaluate, do I stay? What are the consequences if I stay? You know them because you're going through them. Sometimes we forget that we have choices, sisters and brothers. We have
absolutely.
choices, and sometimes the choices are difficult, but it's worth it because it's worth your life saving. God has a purpose for you, and it's not for you to be ridiculed, humiliated, insulted, physically abused, emotionally abused, coerced. That is not the purpose that God has for you. And once you realize it's happening, Ecclesiastes says it's time to make a choice.
Amen.
And
Amen.
so these are the
I
things
said
that
amen like we're in church.
naturally.
So as we wrap up, Michelle, let's answer the question: does the abuse end? Does it ever end?
Absolutely. It does end. It ends with us deciding that we've had enough and that we want to do something about it. As
Yes.
I said in Ecclesiastics, there's a time.
Yeah.
It's all about the time. What is happening in your time frame? I have to repeat myself because I really want you to understand that um, we still have that choice. We have the
Yes.
choice to do something about what we're going through. We have a choice to, especially if there's children involved.
Yes.
Choices create. Okay, so abuse stays in silence. Yeah. If
Yeah.
we don't say anything, we suffer. That is just the
Yes.
reality of it. The
Yes.
abuser is not going to change because it's the character. It's a perpetual pattern that person is doing to you. So if you're thinking about praying for him to change your prayers. Change your
He's,
prayers.
he's
What
not
you need to
changing.
pray for is how God can help you to find yourself, to free yourself, so that He can use you for His glory. This is about you. This is a,
Absolutely.
listen, these things are happening to you. So yes, we absolutely have a choice. We absolutely can. It does end, but the ending is up to you.
Here are some of the choices that you have to nurture a support system,
Yeah,
to get into a space where you can set boundaries, to get into a space where, while you're learning to set boundaries, there are people that are supporting you in the ways that you're building that muscle of boundaries. One of the ways that
absolutely.
it ends is to start the work of healing and rebuilding your self-esteem, rebuilding your confidence. You might not have worked for a long time and feel dependent. As you're healing and getting into new spaces, your confidence is building, and you might be able to return to
Yeah,
work, or move and be able to afford your rent, or your confidence. And as your confidence is building and you're
yeah.
learning out, you're building that muscle of boundaries, and you're getting support, and you're being built up. As you're being built up, that really helps you
So
to continue to put the boundaries in place sometimes. And we'll go into some of these in our next video, how they may use the legal system and the different types of abuse. But we've worked over the years with many people who have managed to come away
yeah,
peacefully, and it does end. So if you're at the
it
beginning, you're just
definitely is.
listening to this,
Yeah,
wondering, you're still praying, you're still fasting, you're at your wits end because nothing's working, the prayer and fasting seem like it's not working, it can end for you too. And it ends when you surround yourself with people who can love on you, and
yeah, yeah.
hold you up and bolster you up and give you courage. So the links for our support network is below this video. I'll put our email address that you can reach out to our team to be, to get the information about how to join our support group that meets every other Monday. This is run by Michelle. If you're a leader and want to understand abuse some more, our Safe Relationship Guide training is from the September 22nd to the 13th of October. It's over 4 Mondays, and it's structured so that there's some lectures, some role play and group work, the ways that we can see the learning happen, so that you have the tools, so you'll never have to say to another person, I don't know who to believe, because it will be very clear.
Right.
All right, thank you so much for joining us on this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel and share this video with those who you think will benefit, and see you on our next one.